Welcome to the season of transformation. This is the cosmological narrative for October the 23rd. The sun has just entered Scorpio, meaning our attention, our focus, our egoic body over this next season is going to be focused on transformation. And specifically, that's transformation that's being sourced from our underworld, which is the scorpionic area of our chart. As the sun enters Scorpio, we get a unique conjunction between Mercury, Mars, and Lilith, as well as the moon, all in later degrees of Scorpio, and that moon is making a harmonious trine to Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Concurrently, at the same time as all this is happening, we have this grand water trine that has been activated as the key apex moment of this triangle is being made by Mars, Lilith, and Mercury in Scorpio, which is connecting us to Jupiter in Cancer, who today is perfecting his square to Chiron retrograde in Aries. There is so much transformation happening, so much internal wounding that's coming to the surface for us to rectify and deal with and move through, and this is the cosmological narrative for October the 23rd. So, as I said, the first thing that we're going to discuss is the fact that the sun has just entered Scorpio. When the sun enters Scorpio, it means that our egoic body, that is what the sun represents symbolically and archetypally in our lives. It is who we are at that moment of the season. So at this moment of the season, we are Scorpio sun at 0 degrees. And so again, wherever Scorpio is at in our chart, that is where your season's focus, your egoic body, over this next month or so is going to be incredibly focused on making changes and transformation. If you're a Scorpio rising, or you have like a Leo rising, you're a Scorpio in the 4th house, or you are an Aquarius rising and this is Scorpio in your 7th house, so on and so forth, may apply it to each house as you need to. These are the areas of our life where we are going to be focused and very fixated, if nothing else, on making the change and transformation, whether it's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. We are transforming some sort of darkness, a trauma, or a difficulty, an obstacle, a challenge. Scorpio is the area of our chart where we have endured the most damage, and it's the most damage that we have yet to rectify, often into adulthood. It's where we bring our underworld, again, Scorpio is the underworld, co-ruled by Mars and Pluto. Scorpio is our underworld, and so that is the areas of our life where, as adults typically, we still have the most unconscious wounding, and we need to pay special attention to deal with and rectify that unconscious wounding. This is interesting because, and I'm going to jump back and forth here, because the day that the sun enters Scorpio, we have this perfection of Jupiter in Cancer squaring Chiron in Aries retrograde. So Chiron in Aries retrograde is the culmination, it's the summation of all of our childhood wounds moved through the lens of the Aryan section of our chart. Jupiter in Cancer has been working as our guardian angel in an exalted position in Cancer to bring us experiences of both knowledge and wisdom that allow us to show up to nurture and mother. Again, whether we're nurturing ourselves or nurturing and mothering other people, it's going to depend on where Cancer's at in your chart. But that's what Jupiter's agenda is while he moves in the exalted position through Cancer. The square is of the nature of Mars, and it's going to be an internal tension. And so essentially what that means is that Jupiter is giving us these experiences, which is forcing us to directly combat this wound that's moving through the Aryan section of our chart. And as we acknowledge, integrate, and move through that wounded area of our chart, the culmination of our childhood wounds via Chiron, by integrating this and moving through it, we will get closer to accomplishing what Jupiter wants for us in the Cancerian area of our chart. Now, as if there wasn't enough transformation already with our egoic body and our focus of the season being focused on transformation, we have the moon, which is our emotional body, Mercury, which is the way we communicate and understand and basically perceptualize data around us, ears, eyes, mouth, think that kind of thing. And we have Lilith, which is our addictions, our escapisms, it's our misdirected agency, our misdirected power. It's where we have this raw human primal effort and that's why it tends to be associated with addictions. It's because when you are in the body of addiction, there's this raw energy that is grasping onto some sort of control or comfort mechanism. And obviously Lilith, when she's in Scorpio, asks us to transform that addiction and redirect that power elsewhere. We're also going to have a conjunction of Mars right there in the very loose 3-degree orb. So essentially, when the sun moves into Scorpio, we are suddenly overwhelmed with a need to transform and an opportunity where we're able to see what needs to transform, because the sun is like the spotlight. It's a flashlight. And that means that we essentially have our emotional body, which is the moon, again, our data and perception, our drive and willpower of Mars, and our misdirected escapism all coalescing together in a similar energy of transformation. We are emotionally resonating with transformation. We are being told transformation. We are talking about transformation. We are motivated to transform, and we are even feeling a misdirection of where we might normally allocate some of our distress and escapism. We're feeling a need to change in that area of our lives too. And it's fascinating because that complexifies the square between Chiron and Jupiter. What that suggests is that Chiron and Jupiter is bringing this childhood wound to the surface for us to deal with and rectify, and that is the motivation of change that's taking place in the Scorpionic area of our life. This Chironic wound actually sources at its core from the Scorpionic area of our chart. It's just being reflected through the lens of Aries. We have the moon in Scorpio, which is in its fall, which means that emotionally, the moon wants to feel good. It's exalted in a place like Taurus, ruled by Venus, because what do our emotions like? Our emotions like to feel good. What does Scorpio feel? Scorpio feels everything, way too intensely. Typically, the intensity brings a level of volatility. Scorpio can feel happiness and optimism to the nth degree, but they can also feel depression, hopelessness, listlessness, and an empty void to the nth degree. So the moon is in its fall in Scorpio because she doesn't really get to express herself in a way that makes sense for the moon in the sign of Scorpio. Conjunct with Mercury, Mars, and Lilith, again, our emotional body is resonating with the change. We're being told exactly what the change is, and we might even have a little bit of fuel available to us from this misdirected escapism to make that change, which is that Chironic wound. The moon in its fall is making a harmonious trine to Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And so what does that mean? It means that our emotional body and where we're torqued towards making that change in the Scorpionic area of our life is making a harmonious connection with the restrictions that Saturn has brought in the Piscean section of our chart. So I could see this as a moment of feeling like almost energetically aligned with the obstacles. And what does that mean? How does that manifest in your daily life? This is like feeling emotionally volatile, but understanding that the restrictions and obstacles that Saturn has put in your place for you to review mentally, retrogradation in the Piscean area of your chart, actually is helping you to transform, and it's giving you the impetus to make those transformations despite how uncomfortable they may be, and despite how frustrating Saturn's obstacles may be. Again, a trine, which is connecting the moon and Saturn, is of the nature of Jupiter. So arguably, this is part of Jupiter's story, showing us where we need to make changes in our life via obstacles, difficulties, not being able to express ourselves emotionally, and the need to transform that. And it's going to allow us to nurture something in the Cancerian of our chart to a greater degree. So we have all of this energy through this week that is just so transformative. And now that we're in Scorpio season, we have officially entered the activation of this grand water trine. Arguably, we started feeling it a couple days ago, but if you weren't feeling it a couple days ago, I promise you are going to be feeling it today, tomorrow, and through this week, and likely through the next several weeks up until about middle of December. That grand water trine, again, is playing off of all of that transformative energy in Scorpio, all motivated by what Jupiter is showing us and how to nurture better. And again, we're dissolving and reconstructing these structures in our connection with divinity in the Piscean section of our chart. And so what this says to me is that we are all going through a major intuitive and spiritual upgrade over these next few months. And what we need to do is we need to lean into the transformation. The veil is thin in Scorpio season, so use it to your advantage to understand, articulate, and get to know yourself better and understand where you need to transform in your life. If you enjoy these astrological and spiritual narratives, I encourage you to check out the link in my bio where you can sign up for my weekly astrological and divination-based workshop, Consciousness, Conjunctions, and Conversations. It's completely free. You can sign up at a Partyful link in my bio. All you need is your email and your name. You get a free link to the class. It's Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Rain or shine, we always host it. We go through the prior week's transits and the subsequent week's transits, and I teach you how to delineate astrology for your spiritual journey. We have a lot of fun. We talk about how these energies will show up in our life, and we tell little bite-sized stories to make astrology a little bit more comprehensible. If you're interested in booking a reading with me, you can also do that as well. I have menus posted on both my Instagram and my TikTok, as well as my Linktree. You can message me on any of those platforms. And I have hardship and financial situation pricing available. So if you are affected by the downturn in the economy and you still want to see an astrologer, you still want consultation for your spiritual journey, you still want to know how to move forward and move with the flow and the influx of energies that we are dealing with right now and how it better serves your spiritual journey, I will not say no. We will come to an agreement on a price. I will be flexible. Just let me know what your situation is and we will make things work. If I don't see you in my DMs for a reading, if I don't see you in class, I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Have a great beginning of your Scorpio season. Lean into the transformation. Don't let the volatility of what your underworld brings up get to you. Know that all those things have been placed there for a purpose, to give you a sense of agency. And again, as we act on these transformative qualities in the Scorpionic area of our chart, it is going to further connect us with the purpose and growth of our soul, ergo the North Node in Pisces, which is co-present, making that connection with Saturn and Neptune. I will check you all later this week.